And joining us now as India prepares for its biggest ever evacuation exercise since the Gulf War is the man in charge, the Civil Aviation Minister, Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri. Appreciate your joining us, Mr. Puri, here on India Today. The big question, of course, is as the government prepares for this large evacuation program, how risky is it, considering that large groups of people will be coming into the country for the first time since the COVID broke out, since the lockdown was enforced?
Thank you very much, Rajdeep. Let me try to answer that question by stating upfront that any activity during this COVID period where you are dealing with an invisible enemy is not without risks. However, the steps that we have taken so far, the early lockdown, bold and courageous decisions to ensure that the lockdown was severe, effective, and in also some respects harsh, also has to take into account the fact that at some time or the other you have to open up, and in this case we are opening up to repatriate and evacuate those of our citizens who find themselves stranded and are in distress in countries abroad. Many of them have visas which have expired. Some of them are otherwise ready to be deported. Some others went there prior to the lockdown and need to return. So these are priorities that our missions will draw. Since we have no option and we are obliged, because they're citizens of India, to bring them back, we will take all the safeguard measures that can possibly be taken to ensure that the risk is minimized. Having said that, I can tell you, no one in my position or anyone who has even a nodding acquaintance with the issue will say that it is entirely without risk. But we have put in place standard operating procedures. The passengers, when they arrive at their destinations, they will be subjected to a mandatory 14-day government quarantine. And we hope that as a result of these steps that have been taken, the risk will be as little and that we will have taken the necessary precautions.
The reason, Mr. Minister, I'm asking you this is because there are concerns that already the Kerala Chief Minister has voiced, because a large number of people who will be coming in from abroad are Keralites living in the Gulf in particular. He believes that there should be pre-medical screening of all passengers before they board a plane or a ship. Are you planning that as part of your protocol? Because the fear is once they get on the flight and if they are symptomatic or even asymptomatic but are carrying COVID, then they could spread the epidemic. Is that a concern? Will there be pre-medical screening?
Well, Rajdeep, let me just share with you one overriding concern, which is that none of these arrangements which have been put in place have been put in place unilaterally by any agency. These have been done in consultation with the concerned state governments. And it's only when the state governments have been ready and have told us that they have made the arrangements both for the reception and the quarantining of these, that a flight plan for the first week has been put in place. Therefore, it is my expectation that the coordination which has been done by the central government along with the state governments, the health authorities, etc., that we can proceed with the effective system of safeguards
so
as we possibly can.
Will there be medical screening?
Well, I can
will
tell you...
Will there be medical screening before they board the flight or when they reach the airport?
On that point of departure also. But you see, if somebody is asymptomatic, what do you do? There is a certain risk that you take. But therefore, passengers will travel at their own risk. I mean, this has been made clear to everyone. But the government is placed in a situation where it has to assume its obligation vis-a-vis its citizens, people who are put in a situation of being stranded or in distress. And with the cooperation of the state governments. Now, I can share with you, some of the state governments were not ready. Therefore, they wanted a little more time. So the scheduling of the flights has been done in such a way that they will first go to places where the authorities are ready. Now, I can share with some other details. We had to delay some of these flights a little because we wanted also to ensure that the Air India crew, which is going to man those flights, will also be screened prior to boarding their aircraft. So there is screening at multiple levels. And so we will do the best we can. But as I said, in a situation which is like this, which is unprecedented and sui generis, there are some risks.
Very interesting details that you're providing, Mr. Minister. What happens once they land? They go into quarantine for 14 days. Your note seems to suggest, doesn't clearly specify where they will be put in quarantine. Someone just asked me from Pune, will the passengers be put in a hotel? Will they be put in a government quarantine center? Or has that decision been left to each individual state government?
Rajdeep, I was very clear when I had the first press conference yesterday by video conference. And in the tweet that I put out, I used the words exactly: government mandated paid quarantine. Now, the finer details have to be worked out by the state government. It's not for the central government to micromanage those, but paid facilities which will presumably be of a certain standard of hygiene, etc. Those precise details will be worked out by the state government, but these will be paid quarantine facilities.
So the state government will take responsibility for that. Am I correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You've also said very clearly that Indians in distress are being given priority. Laid off migrant workers, short-term visa holders with expiry of visas, persons with medical emergency, pregnant women, elderly. But are all of them being asked to pay? What we are told is Air India is charging everyone for these flights, unlike during the Gulf War evacuation.
Rajdeep, this is a service being provided by the national carrier, and a charge has been levied because it is ultimately the taxpayers' money. As you know, I mean, this is an open secret. Air India requires a injection of liquidity of about 500, 600 crores every month. And therefore, we have put in a charge, levied a charge, which is reasonable. On the London-Delhi sector or equivalent number of flying hours, 50,000 rupees, United States, India, approximately 100,000 and so on. You will also appreciate that the aircraft, when they go out, we have opened up the possibility of these aircraft carrying some Indians who are professionals, normally resident there, who need to return, of carrying them. But the difficulty is that some of these countries are not taking nationals other than their own back. For instance, in the Gulf, there are 6 countries which are not taking them. So Indians from Dubai who are here and who are stranded are not being allowed to go back. So the aircraft will go almost empty on the way out to some of these places and then carry the number of passengers back. So it has to be financially, it still not be viable, but we are levying a charge. Otherwise, you know, the airlines are already under challenge, whether it's the national carrier or the other civil aviation carriers. So the charge is a compulsory charge is being levied.
No, because if I have lost my job, let's say in the Gulf, I don't have a ready income, I'm a migrant worker who has gone to the Gulf, maybe my visa has expired, do I have to pay for my ticket is what people are asking. To that extent,
yes,
is Air India doing a service? Yes, but it is a service for those who can afford to pay for it.
Well, you know, you cannot run airlines on the basis of that differentiation. In an ideal state, where the state had resources which were unlimited, you could say that in the case of a natural calamity or something where a situation like the coronavirus has suddenly descended on us, we should be carrying out this free service. It is just physically not possible because the airline also has to be sustained. And therefore, whether it is a private airline or the national carrier, but the charge which is being levied is a reasonable charge. It's not a charge which was taking advantage of the situation and the fare has gone up many times. No, this is an average kind of a cost of a fare which is being levied.
You know, Mr. Minister, in the first phase, you're bringing flights from the UAE, US, UK, Bangladesh, Malaysia, 5 each from Saudi Arabia, Singapore, Kuwait, Philippines, 2 from Qatar, Oman, Bahrain, a total of 64 flights expected to bring back about 15,000 passengers. But there are many others who are stuck. I've just got someone who's listening to you from Australia. Students from SP Jain College stuck in Australia for the last month. They say they're running out of money. What happens to students like them, or indeed as many as 87,000 students by some estimates who are stuck in different parts, who are not in any of these countries from where this first phase of flights is coming? What would you tell a student, for example, in Australia today?
Rajdeep, the working numbers or the figure on which we started planning this exercise initially was that a total of approximately 190,000 of our citizens stranded in different parts of the world would want to come back. When we got into the actual planning, we reached the conclusion that the number would be far higher than that. In fact, I can share with you something that I said elsewhere when my colleague, the ambassador in Abu Dhabi, opened his portal at 3 o'clock in the morning, and by 11 o'clock he had more than 100,000 applicants. What we have outlined for the first week is just the initial plan to bring back 14,800 people on 64 flights. We have similar schedules for the weeks after 13th April ready, but we will review the operation of this plan in the next 2 or 3 days based on our actual experience. It is entirely possible that we will ramp up the numbers significantly. But our ability to carry more people back is also directly contingent on the state governments being willing and them displaying their ability to host and receive those of our citizens who are stranded outside. Now, many of the people who find themselves in this situation...
So what do I tell the student from Australia? What do I tell the student from Australia, Mr. Minister? That you will do it in the second phase? Is that what you're telling students from Australia?
I would be, Air India will happily share with them when the flight from Australia will start.
Okay, I have a very interesting question, Mr. Minister, that's come. Why are you not directing airlines to fully refund customers for flight cancelled due to the lockdown of 2 months? Flights which were booked before the lockdown started, world over, full refunds are being made. Why is that not happening in India? Why are we not getting refunds back?
Rajiv, the issue of refund of tickets is a slightly complicated one. I am very clear as the minister that anyone who has booked during the phase of the lockdown or just prior to the lockdown and he got stranded, I issued an advisory saying that the refund must be total. Since some airlines did not follow that advisory, which they are expected to, I went to the extent of issuing a directive. And now that directive makes it absolutely clear that if just before the lockdown, you booked something and as a result of the lockdown, you cannot travel, you will get the full refund. But the airline ticketing business is a very complicated one. Let me try and explain. Somebody might take advantage of the flexibility that the airline fare structure has. We have a deregulated system of airfares where the concerned airline is required to show on its website the minimum fare and the maximum fare it could charge. Now, if you're traveling, let's say Delhi, Mumbai, and you take advantage of the apex fare, which is 60 days prior to booking, and the fare, and you are only traveling several months later, obviously the airlines are finding it difficult to reimburse those fares. But now the matter is sub judice. It has gone to the Supreme Court. There's a public interest litigation which has been filed in the Supreme Court. We are very clear from the government side. We have to also realize that when a passenger books, he or she books through a travel agency. That agency has an arrangement with the airlines. So you to come to a blanket assertion that, everybody must have the fund refunded. Some countries have passed laws. In the European Union, for instance, they have said that the issue of refunds be looked at more sympathetically. Now we are seized of the problem. Insofar as passengers stranded on account of the lockdown are concerned, we first issued an advisory and then a directive that refunds should be provided in totality.
Mr. Puri, what about OCIs? A friend of mine in London is an OCI. He wants to come back to Mumbai. His mother is seriously ill. Can he avail of the facilities that are starting tomorrow, or will he have to wait his turn?
No, well, I can tell you that we would be looking at all such cases. We try to look at them sympathetically. But it's a question of where you come in the prioritization. Now, the High Commission will have to take a view on that. As far as we are concerned, this is essentially a service put in place for stranded Indian nationals in distress. Now, I know an overseas citizen of Indian origin comes close to that. As I said, we'd be happy to address that issue.
But as you said, there are about 190,000 Indians stuck abroad at the moment. Numbers could be even higher according to some figures. Is the plan to bring them all back over the next 1 month?
Well, I am deliberately avoiding the temptation of either sticking to a number, 190,000, or the timeline. If the entire process of evacuation, which is commencing tomorrow with 3 flights, 2 from Abu Dhabi and 1 from Singapore, if it proceeds in a reasonably satisfactory manner, both in terms of the attendant health risks and in terms of the logistical arrangements for quarantine, we will be tempted to increase the numbers after a few days. In fact, we, instead of bringing back, people in 2,000-3,000, etc., we could increase it substantially. That will then also open up the possibility
you could even include private airlines, Mr. Minister.
Absolutely.
You could use private airlines. You could increase the.
See, I think the problem is not private airlines.
Go ahead.
From whatever I've heard of the statements made by the private airlines, they're quite happy to join in the effort. Our problem will be at the point of reception. When they come and land at the airports, I am totally confident about my airports, because I think they have now got used to the idea. And when we brought in something like 14 lakh passengers, except 1 or 2 days when there was queuing at Delhi airport, and that was also because we had introduced a second layer of screening and that problem arose, airports will manage. But the state government, the authorities of the state government must be ready with the quarantine. So we will try, we are in constant touch with the state government. The Ministry of External Affairs is the Cabinet Secretary, and therefore we will, from the civil aviation side, ramp up the number of flights as soon as we feel reasonably confident that the arrangements at the receiving end are in place.
Just 2 more questions. What about quarantine centers, as you said, in India? Are you confident that there are enough to accommodate this large influx, or are you saying that that is being done, as you said, entirely in coordination with the state governments? Am I correct? You are reasonably hopeful that the state governments will measure up to the task.
Yeah, they have to measure up to the task. As I said, we can only base, the flight scheduling has been arranged after receiving a comfort level from the state government. And if it works, you see, there are a number of issues involved. The number of people wanting to come back, the number of people, it may not be, the figures may ultimately surprise us. Initially, a lot of people want to come back, but when they hear that they may have to go into 14 days paid quarantine, they may start having second thoughts. So let us see how the numbers work out. I was speaking to the CMD of Air India. Because, we only decided last evening. I said, how are the flights looking? Well, the flights which he's mentioned to me from Abu Dhabi, they were already 60-70%. People had already paid the tickets, etc. I will review it twice a day, and we'll see how it goes. If things are moving smoothly and there's a comfort level at the reception point, at the destination, we will increase the numbers.
What about Indians who are stuck here, who have to go abroad for their jobs, who've got, or foreign nationals stuck in India? Will you use these flights to send them back?
Well, insofar as foreign nationals are concerned, the airlines of those countries are already running relief flights. the foreign nationals are not experiencing much difficulty. We had opened up these flights which are going abroad to bring our own citizens back to those of our citizens who are ordinarily resident abroad, those who have long-term visas, well, more than 12 months, those who have jobs. We have opened up, and all these flights are open for booking. But we have an additional problem, Rajdeep. Many of these countries are now not taking back any person who is not their national. For instance, the United States and United Kingdom, we have no difficulty. Anyone who wants to travel on a plane which is going to bring passengers back from New York or San Francisco can do that. Equally to London. But the countries in the Middle East, for instance, the Gulf, I have a list of countries. They are, for the moment, their policy is not to take anyone other than their nationals back. That's also the case with some countries in Southeast
Mr. Minister,
Asia.
I'm running out of
They're
time.
only taking their nationals back.
Mr. Minister, I'm running out of time. One final big question. When will you resume domestic commercial operations? When will I be able to travel to Mumbai to meet my mother or go to my hometown in Goa? When do you expect commercial private airlines to start operations within India?
Rajdeep, I want to be as optimistic I can be. My answer to you, the one I want to give, is sooner rather than later. But I will qualify that by saying we will do it at the earliest, depending on the behavior of the virus, because we must be ready then also to open up rail traffic, to open up other forms of domestic traffic. And it also depends on, surely we cannot conduct air operations between two red zones. So we'll see how it operates. But I'm hoping within the next week or 10 days, we will get clarity on that. And then, as I keep saying, in terms of public statement, those decisions remain to be taken.
No, but could you do a green zone to green zone? You can't do it between two red zones. Could you do a green zone to green zone? If trains have started moving, taking migrant workers back to their home, why can't flights do it?
Well, there is one possibility which I heard somebody on one of your shows suggesting that. We are willing to consider any possibilities. But as it says, it has to be, even when you carry out that facility, it will have to be a paid service. Because the gentleman who was offering you that suggestion on your show will not want to run a pro bono service. So we will look at all this in the coming days, depending on our experience with what we have ongoing.
But are you hopeful that next month, this time, if I speak to you, we will have resumed in some way commercial operations? Because that is critical in a way also to get the economy moving again, unless we start commercial air operations in this country.
Yes, let me say I am hopeful. I am hopeful, and I would be quite happy to. I'm not a betting man. If I were to say that, I've always said that yes, in the month of May, after 15th May, we will start critically examine these things. We will probably open up in a calibrated manner, maybe first 25% of the sectors, then slowly increase it, and then exactly what you are saying, before too long, we will have reached a substantial opening up of domestic civil aviation.
Mr. Minister, you've taken most of my questions. In fact, all my questions, you've answered them with clarity and hopefully given hope to millions of Indians today who have either relatives or family that is stranded abroad. I hope that this massive evacuation exercise goes off perfectly. Thank you very much for joining us here and giving us the big picture as India embarks on this evacuation exercise. Good luck, Mr. Minister.
Thank you very much, Rajdeep.
Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.